All right, right now I'm going to interview Chris Fields from the state of New Jersey. He's running for the Democratic nomination of be the next senator of the U.S. Senate from New Jersey, and he's running. He's running against Cory Booker. How you doing, Mr. Fields?
I'm doing great today, Jay. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. What made you decide to um, oppose Mr. Booker in next year's election?
Well, I've personally kind of been working like really on the ground and kind of community organizing and with the party for almost a decade. And leading up to this race, um, it was really startling, and it hit me just how ineffectual the establishment of the party can be. We've seen 50 years of wage stagnation and ordinary people just not getting tangible results from our hijack system. And I felt that it was good for the process and good for New Jersey to
Hmm.
have to have a primary here, to offer the people of New Jersey in all 21 counties a real option. Um, One of the kind of messages that came into the campaign, I'll read it for you here, came from someone, and this really touched me. He wrote, "Every day I worry about where my brother and I will be living in 6 months. Affordable housing is most important to me. Universal health care almost feels like a pipe dream at this point, but I'll easily vote for anyone who's trying to make it happen." And that's why I'm running. Every day, people reach out to the campaign, they offer encouragement, they ask, how can they help? Right now, we are small. We're kind of like a snowball that's just starting to roll downhill. But we're getting bigger and we're getting better every day, and we're just committed to fighting for the ordinary people in New Jersey every day.
All right. So, now, yeah, earlier you mentioned community organizing.
Yeah.
What type of community organizing organizations you was a part of? What was your focus when you was doing community organizing? Can you please share what of your history in that field?
Okay. So, I mean, I've worked with a lot of organizations, from uh, helping food shelters across the state. Right now, actually, I am uh, the communications director for an initiative in Newark, with a church out there that focuses on feeding people every day and providing clothes to those in need. So I do have a lot of experience in this area, as well as kind of just traditional campaign experience, from working on campaigns from the local level to the presidential and most of in between.
All right. And I heard you mention food, right? So, um, how are you going to address things like food scarcity, especially in the African American, low income, and also in other marginalized minority groups? Um, how would you try to address food scarcity in New Jersey and elsewhere?
Well, really, all forms of precarity, from housing to healthcare to food to education, right? These
Hmm.
are the core of thriving communities, right? So
Right.
we need to expand our current programs to make sure that they're working well.
Hmm.
And we also need to look for new ideas to offer some new programs, right? I mean, we've seen the attack on SNAP benefits and food assistance most recently with this government shutdown, and that really affects some of the most vulnerable people in our communities, which is
Okay.
absolutely unacceptable. At the same time, that this Trump administration is giving trillions of tax benefits to the wealthiest Americans. So we really need to adjust our approach and make sure that we're focusing on providing those necessary services to ordinary people, to the 99%.
And my next question is, and you mentioned it earlier. Um, oh man, my mind went blank. I lost my notes. Um, how would you approach issues like I'm talking about SNAP, right? How who do you blame? Right, I'm asking. This is a better question. Who do you blame for the SNAP and the government shutdown issue? Do you blame Chuck Schumer and Akeem Jeffries, the Democratic leadership, or do you blame the Trump administration for like the shutdown?
So, I mean, for this one, there's certainly blame to go all the way around. But at its
Hmm.
core, the Republicans are in control of both houses of Congress as well as the presidency, right? So, the core of the problem of the government shutdown is certainly on them,
Hmm.
right? Now, Chuck Schumer, in particularly the Democratic leadership in the Senate, um, right? The goal of the shutdown was to fight for healthcare for people,
Right.
to make sure that these subsidies that are going to lead, millions of Americans now are threatened with having their insurance premiums double or triple. And so
Mm.
to go through all of that effort of the government shutdown, which really hurt a lot of people, and to come away without the securing those benefits for healthcare just seems unacceptable to me.
And and should you be elected, would you? I know this has been going around the you know um, the rumor mill. Uh, would you support Chuck Schumer in the next the next time the Senate opens in next January? I mean, the January 2027.
I personally, especially with this most recent shutdown, have lost confidence in Senator Schumer, like many others, right? But especially when it comes to the Senate leadership, right? We
Hmm.
need an alternative to step up, right? Someone who is proven that they will, fight for ordinary people, and especially is willing to put the issue of fixing our broken and flawed healthcare system front and center in the next Congress.
And speaking about the healthcare thing, would you try to expand Obamacare, or would you try to create another type of healthcare system that would eclipse or or um that would either eclipse or remove or replace Obamacare?
So personally, I support a universal single payer healthcare system. And we've heard a lot of different alternatives out there, like Medicare for all. And really, to get from where we are to universal healthcare will require an overhaul of the entire healthcare system. We need to make sure that we have the medical professionals that we need. Um,
Hmm.
to cover everyone. We need to deal with the pharmaceutical companies, the cost of prescription drugs. We need to deal with the insurance companies and medical providers who are very good at taking advantage of our kind of opaque and broken system to squeeze profits out for themselves, while people are often denied the routine care that they need. Um, so while we aim for universal healthcare, I think the next step is a robust public option, one that just offers one comprehensive plan, very similar to what the members of Congress have now, one that covers doctor's visits to hospitalization to prescription drugs and dental and vision care. One
Us.
plan.
it seems like that's similar to what John Edwards ran in 2008. Is that's I think he was trying to. I think that was similar to what he was trying to do in 2008. The whole, we should have the same healthcare as the members of Congress. I remember he used to say that in the campaign trail at the time.
Yeah. And I mean, very similar because I mean, right now I will when I, am out there talking to the people of New Jersey, just recently I was talking to this woman. She's in her 70s. She is a kind of one of the core members of her church, which is really focused on, providing care and services for the people of Newark. And she's on Medicare, and she
Hmm.
was telling us how she suffers with diabetes, and that her insurance is denying her to cover a continuous blood glucose monitor, something that would drastically improve her quality of life and allow her to better maintain and manage her condition, all for the reason that they say because she's not taking the medication that they would require to cover this. And unfortunately, this situation is not isolated. So many people are suffering that even when they have healthcare coverage, when they have Medicare, Medicaid, when they have access to kind of the ACA marketplace, that even once they have this coverage, they're just denied routine care for these silly reasons. So we really need to streamline the system to come up with this one comprehensive plan, just like you mentioned John Edwards, and I'm advocating for something very similar.
Yeah, yeah,
One
yeah.
comprehensive plan.
Right. Because when you said that, right, that kind of remind me of John Edwards, 2008 president then run about everybody should pay the, people, we should have all the same health care as the members of Congress. Um, so I'm still keep on this healthcare part. Now, since the United Health, when this I forgot the guy, the Luigi guy who um assassinated the CEO of that corporation for not
Mhm.
how would you punish healthcare companies and corporations that deny coverage? Uh, how would you punish them? Would you do antitrust laws, or would you try to do some criminal investigations? How would you um, try to remedy uh, that aspect of the healthcare issue?
So I think that this is absolutely crucial with having a robust public option. So what that would do, right? And yes, we're going to need changes to, get a federal bureau that's capable of kind of providing that same. Universal health care should But we have billionaires like Elon Musk who, instead of even, they're getting paid in stock. And I know recently
history, and you got some content creators.
I think it's people have are talking about kind of Trump's ceasefire, right? Or
Hmm.
the ceasefire that they've organized, which is highly problematic. It's essentially already been broken. We have, bombs in multiple occasions already kind of dropping again and killing the Palestinians. And we see from the Trump administration in particular their vision of turning Gaza into this resort town with the other oligarchs of the Middle East. goes against the core principle of self-determination, right?
Mhm.
The Palestinian people and what they have community control of the resources and institutions that they need to survive and thrive.
Uh, I think the Palestinians need to have their own bank without the need for Israel or any other international actor to have their hands up in it. You know, because I think that's also what's hindering the problem why they couldn't feed themselves. You know, well, you can't have the money to buy food or services you know, from the outside world. I think that also needs to be addressed as well. Um, and moving from one international issue, um, what is your thoughts on the Ukrainian Russia conflict? Uh, the Europeans have their own peace plan. Donald Trump, the Trump administration have their own peace plan. Um, have you ever looked at both those proposals? And if so, can you tell me what is your insight on those two?
So the situation in Ukraine, at its core, Vladimir Putin has engaged in an illegal war of aggression against Ukraine, um, and that is a real threat, right? So I
Hmm.
understand um, why the Europeans are so concerned, and the world is watching the situation, and we've seen millions of people displaced, tens of thousands of people killed. Uh, Now, the Trump administration's current plan, I thought it was absolutely absurd how he really took the mask off, and what they seem to be fighting over is the reconstruction funds to end this conflict. Basically,
Hmm.
with Russia, taking slightly more than the land that they have already taken militarily, um, and they had this kind of egregious proposal to guarantee the profit of U.S. firms that will come in and be involved in the reconstruction. So once again, I think a peace plan is certainly necessary, right?
Right.
But the peace plan needs to take into account the ordinary people of Ukraine, to put them
Hmm.
first, not not the economic interests of Western Europe and the United States.
Right. Right. And would you back uh the idea of Ukraine joining NATO, or would you? Because that also has been floating around. Now,
So,
go ahead.
I mean, it seems like this particular point, right?
Mm-hmm.
NATO, in particular, was a military alliance that was formed to kind of protect the West from the Soviet Union, right?
Right.
But the Soviet Union is gone. And this has been one of the areas I'm really not sure how much should be believed of what Putin says, right?
Right.
But he points to this issue of the Ukraine joining NATO, or potentially joining NATO, and putting those weapons on the Russian border as one of his primary reasons for starting this conflict. So
r-
I believe that there are paths to peace without Ukraine joining NATO, right? I
Okay.
don't think that um, this idea that we've seen in kind of these like forever wars, that it's all about weapons and acting first, and these acts of aggression is the only way to keep people safe. Instead, I actually think it's generally the opposite. We can look at Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, Syria. Which one of these places is safer, more stable today
Hmm.
after intervention?
Right. Um. And I think the last month or so, the Syrian president. I'm glad you mentioned Syria. He was in the Oval Office, and how does it feel that somebody like him, who was a part of Al Qaeda and part of ISIS, I think he was rumored to be part of ISIS. How did it? Do you have any opinion on that? He was part of the group that may have done horrific things to the American soldier in the Middle East, and part of a group that had knocked down the Twin Towers. What is your opinion on that? I mean, um,
So I think this is a prime example of how this kind of foreign policy that we've seen kind of since the war on terror until now, uh, and the forever wars is ineffective, right?
hmm.
Because um, Bashar al-Assad was not a good guy, right? Everyone
Right.
can agree to that, but then after all this war and conflict and death and loss of lives and treasure, we don't end up with a safer, more stable Syria for ordinary people,
Hmm.
right? We just end up replacing, one dictator with another, or
Right.
potential. It's still early. We'll see. Um, how he does, and I hope it doesn't go in that direction. Um, but we'll see. I think that overall in our foreign policy, right, that
Right.
what will protect the people of New Jersey, what will protect ordinary Americans, is if we use our military for legitimate defense and not these kind of interventions and acts of aggression and regime change
Right.
overseas. And what's really worrying is it seems this current administration, the Trump administration, wants to start another conflict with Venezuela right now.
Right. And that's gonna lead to my other question, though. Uh, to my other foreign policy question. Do, since with the boats that's being destroyed, uh, people who have survived the bombings of these speedboats, they're being again bombed as they're being rescued out the water. Would you seek the removal of P. Hevsef, the Secretary of Defense, and would you and speaking about the AI issue as well? I don't know about the Secretary of Homeland Security. This is a sidebar. Would you seek the removal of the Secretary of Homeland Security when she produced that AI video framing those young black men as being being it suggesting that they was trying to have an insurrection, because that was an AI video that she took. I don't know if you saw that video. It was a group of young black men. They were talking about fighting some other country. I think it was China or whatever, Russia, whatever. And she took the image, talking about, we want to fight Trump. We want to, Trump coming to Chicago. We will fight back. Trying to rebel. And would you seek the removal of both these officials? Since, though, in my opinion, going after Donald Trump again, I don't think it's for the third time. I just think the better option for me is go after the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of Homeland Security, as a part of going after the cabinet members to um you know to slow this thing down. If would you be in favor for that? Is what I'm saying.
So with these kind of these drone attacks or the bombing of the boats off the coast of Venezuela, these are war
Hmm.
crimes, right?
Right.
Even the administration's uh, rationale that they're trying to lay out, that these are drug traffickers, right? We've yet to see any definitive evidence that that is actually true. And even if it was, the penalty for drug trafficking here in the United States, and this isn't in the United States, this is in international waters,
Right.
is not death, right? Now,
Hmm.
one particular instance where they essentially attacked and then killed these survivors and dropped another bomb after they had already bombed this boat once is, I mean, that's it's just there's no excuse.
Right.
So I personally am glad that Congress is starting to look into this, and I hope that if Secretary Hegseth, actually did give that order, then he needs to be held accountable. But whoever gave that order certainly needs to be held accountable. This is clearly unlawful. It is a war crime, and it's unacceptable. Um, Now for the AI videos, right? Especially from our administration. It's very unfortunate that this administration is particularly unlawful, right?
Hmm.
They move so fast sometimes that it's difficult to even keep up with all the ridiculous things that they're doing, right? We don't need misinformation being spread by the administration to the American people. It's it's absurd, right?
Right.
This
Right.
this is where people should uh, be able to get good information, right? It should be one place where people can trust that they're being told the truth. And as for Trump in particular, and going after him, when the Supreme Court kind of came down on his side, basically giving him a wide immunity for his actions while in office, that just leaves the process of impeachment as the only way to hold him accountable.
Would you try Amendment 25, Section 3, or just Section 4, Amendment 25 to the Constitution? If try to, since there's rumors, I'm gonna use this in quotation marks, right? Um, of his mental state, would you try to seek Amendment 20, issuing Amendment 25? I think the House and Senate could do that to at least temporarily for 30 days, get him out of power for at least. I'm just saying. I'm just thinking of the top of my head on that issue. So I mean,
So, I mean, we will really have to see. I think a lot of things will change with this upcoming midterm election, right? That
hmm,
if us, the Democrats, can take back the majority in the Senate, right,
right,
then we will have a lot more power to really hold the Trump administration to account in a lot of ways, right?
right,
And
right.
I am very clear and very open in my own opposition to Trump's policies. They are not what the people of New Jersey need. They are not. They don't benefit ordinary Americans across the country.
Okay. Um, since the tragic death of Charlie Kirk, and the aftermath of it, I find it very troubling with the aftermath. What happened in Tennessee State University? We had that, the wannabes in trying invading. Tennessee State is a HBCU being attacked, and then you got some HCBUs bomb threats been issued out, and I think in NYU there was a text going out for black students that they were under attack. H- How would you address groups like this that are address issues when HCBUs are being attacked, or black students being attacked, since this issue, the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's demise? How would you go after the those who try to harass, bully the student body in that regard.
So one of the things that I thought was most egregious, um, after the killing of Charlie Kirk, was the rhetoric coming out of the Trump administration and even some members of Congress, trying uh, to label this and to rile people up that political violence in our country was this left wing phenomenon,
Hmm.
when that couldn't be further from the truth, right? The
Right. Right.
vast majority of the political violence that we've seen in the United States over the past 2 decades has actually been from right wing extremists. And this is really counting violence by individuals, right? But we're in
Hmm.
the process of seeing right now these masked men being sent out by the Trump administration, law enforcement um, members that are supposed to be protecting and serving our community, being the source of violence.
Hmm.
And
Right.
so this is where the political violence that I think we need to be focused on, that we need to stop.
Okay. And since I touched upon the Charlie Kirk thing, I'm going to more to the how conservatives are rolling back some of the laws. So how would you address the Dobbs case, um, that had ended Roe v. Wade? How would you uh, codify Roe v. Wade, or would you create a new law for guidelines for the right to choose for women's reproductive health?
So I think actually this is uh, a core issue, something that we need to accomplish, as you know, in Congress and as a nation, right? These attacks on women in particular, and their access to reproductive health care, um, is very regressive. It's backwards, right? And what we've
Hmm.
seen with the Supreme Court and this current court is they're peeling away kind of these protections, right? And not only this, right? They're also chipping away at the Voting Rights Act, at the Civil Rights Act, at affirmative action measures. Um, so I think we need federal legislation to protect women's rights, to reproductive health care. And me personally, right, when I say I'm pro-choice, I believe that women need access to reproductive health care on demand without apology. And not only that, right, they need access to dental care, to vision care, and healthcare more broadly. This is why we need universal health care. And at the same time, right, everyone else needs access to healthcare. And I know that many might think that this is just an issue that affects women, but that's not true. If we look throughout history, if we look around the world, uh, administrations or governments that impose these types of restrictions against women, and their bodily autonomy, they typically impose other regressive and restrictions against ethnic and religious minorities, members of the LGBTQ plus community. Um, so when we allow these types of rights to be attacked, to be chipped away at, it hurts everyone.
Okay. More about more about women's rights and such. So I don't know if you are aware of the red pill manosphere communities. You know, these podcasters, right?
Mm.
And the harassment, the doxing of certain female figures in society by these red pill groups. How would you address social media companies that um, engenders or encourage or push out these um, these hate group. I center the red pill community as a hate group, in my opinion. How would you address them, knowing that what the content that they push out goes against the terms of service and the community guidelines of some of these social media companies? How would you address these social media companies that pushes out these the Andrew Tates, and so forth out in the world?
So I think that this is one of the reasons, one of many, that these kind of big social media tech monopolies, they really, we really need some better regulation, right? Because we've
Right.
seen that algorithmically, their goal is to just get engagement so that way they can sell more ads, right? And
Right.
all too often they do that through misinformation, through pushing these harmful narratives, like you're discussing with the red pill movement, um, which is very harmful. This hurts people. We've seen kind of the rash of cyberbullying, the negative effect that it has on teens, to adults. And so to allow companies to essentially profit and make billions of dollars when these negative consequences are so well documented and so obvious, we need to step in. We need legislation to to change this and to hold them accountable. You mentioned kind of the terms of service. The One of the reasons that these companies can get away with profiting off of voices like Andrew Tate, is because that they have a monopoly,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Right.
breaking them up, letting them know that the regulators are paying attention, and that if they continue to engage in these types of actions, then there's real alternatives and real measures will be taken. I think will go a long way, right? Because we don't want our internet or our social media to just be this source for misinformation and spreading and propagating harmful narratives for
Oh,
so that these tech billionaires can profit.
okay. So you and I are African Americans. There's been an issue about for the last 10 years, 10, 15, 20 years or more about reparations, right? Um,
Mhm.
what is your opinion about reparations? And if so, how would you do it? Because I remember the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, vetoed a bill about reparations. I think he did it out of because he said we did this before, so he's seeking another avenue. Um, and I think he's been unjustly attacked by within the African American community about that because he already said it has been passed. So, well, anyway, how would you address the issue of reparations and other issues for even for the land grants for the Hispanic community as well? How would you address these issues about racial justice? Um, how would you go about it?
So first, I guess let me speak on reparations, right? We've seen, and what I find worrying is that there are some grifters out there on this issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Reparations has always been a broad movement of solidarity. And the core of reparations means to repair the harm done from the Ma'afa, slavery, to mass incarceration, and on the continent, from colonization to neo-colonization, from the islands of the Caribbean to the jungles of Latin America. Um, So to kind of try to just narrow down this issue and deform it into something that's almost unrecognizable, I find as very disappointing.
Hmm.
But real politics, right? In the Senate, there is not the votes for reparations. So Cory Booker supports reparations, and I do as well. But there's, by my calculations, if we're just going off of people's public statements, there's less than 10 votes for reparations in the Senate. So
Okay.
I think what we really need to focus on is leaning into that broad history of solidarity. Because when those signs came down that read "No Blacks Allowed," the signs came down that read "No Irish, no Jews, no Italians" as well. So something that I think can be passed in Congress, I would call it kind of a anti-discrimination policy, because what we see all too often in our current society, Trump is a great example of this, right? You had federal investigators time and time again go into his apartment buildings, and they would send in a white agent and ask if they have vacancies, and they would treat them normally, say yes, give them a tour of the apartment, and then the same day, a half an hour later, they send in a black agent, and all of a sudden they have no vacancies. And um, we see this kind of repeated across our society in so many different ways, from housing to banking to education to employment, right? Women in particular getting paid 85 cents to the dollar, and our Black women and Latino women being paid even less. So I would support an anti-discrimination policy that allows people to bring forth their claims based on the historic patterns of discrimination, and just having to show that it affected them. And let's charge these companies, these banks, these housing firms, 3 to 4 times what that financial cost is, right? We don't
Right.
have to just accept uh, this blanket level of unfairness across our society.
All right. All right. All right. Well, I think I don't have any more questions to ask, Mr. Fields. I appreciate this hour comments and our discussion with you with this interview. So I appreciate Mr. Fields, and I wish you luck. So are y'all having any debates with the other candidates,
So
or
we will have to see. I'm ready and willing to debate Senator Booker in this Democratic primary. We'll have to see what Senator Booker has to say about that. And
okay?
as of right now, I believe that myself and Senator Booker are the only kind of declared candidates that are actively, running and campaigning in this race. And so we're just going to do our absolute best to, fight for the ordinary people, working families in New Jersey every day.
All right, sir. All right, sir. I appreciate this. I appreciate you. You took the time to talk to me. I'm a low level content creator. I just do that as a hobby. So yeah. But anyway, I appreciate it. So I'm gonna say again,
Well,
I'm grateful.
well, Jay, it was great to be here. I appreciate you inviting me on your platform as well, and thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So anyway, this concludes our my interview with Mr. Chris Fields. Oh, and before I leave, can you say the website um
Yeah,
is chrisfieldsforsenate.com? Is that's
yes,
the okay.
ChrisFieldsForSenate.com, and you can find us on social media at ChrisFields4NJ.
All right then. All right, this concludes my interview, and I appreciate it, Mr. Fields. And I wish you the best of luck.
Okay, thanks, Jay.
Yes, sir. You have a good one.
You
All right.
too.
All right then. All right, bye bye.